start in a couple of minutes after I've made an introduction. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, all good.
Good. Okay. So we're going to have a little introduction or a little start session from Doug here. It's great to see so many of you on here, which is fantastic. I will try to admit people as fast as I can and talk. We're here to talk about EngageU, amongst other things. But first, Doug is going to talk to us about Claris and the new version, and a bit about Studio and a bit about Connect, I believe. Is that right, Doug?
That's correct, yeah.
Perfect. So without further ado, let's get into that, after which we will be having an open discussion with whoever can pitch in is welcome.
Cool. Hi, everyone. So first of all, I'd like to apologize for those who actually were at Engage in Antwerp. This is going to be the same content that I delivered on the session. So nothing has actually changed in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, okay.
We'll just go back into the details of what I talked about. Cool. So for those who don't know me, my name is Doug Wallis. I'm the product manager on the FileMaker side, and I work with the pleasure working with Rick Carmen to get the better side of what we can actually achieve out of FileMaker. So just to give an idea of basically what we were actually trying to actually get everyone to really understand, there was some confusion for about a year or so when we had like the FileMaker platform and the Claris platform. Essentially is to actually make sure everyone is on the same vision, on the same wavelength that we are, and actually understands where we're trying to actually take the Claris platform now. So essentially the way we look at it is, how do we look at the customer and the environment in which FileMaker and other Claris products are actually being used. So essentially what we do know is, for a long time, FileMaker apps were actually operation apps. We have a lot of companies, we have a lot of partners, we have a lot of simple users that actually create apps which are a bit more than just a single app. They actually will be the complete operating system within a company. They actually manage a lot of stuff to actually run the company, whether it's your sales invoicing system, whatever it might be. But a lot of times we've actually seen over the years that there's need sometimes to be able to actually create on top of that what we call management apps. Essentially is for stakeholders or for managers to be able to actually not use the app for the operation that actually runs the company, but be able to actually see the analytics dashboards, and in some cases to be able to actually send or create forms that could be used from people from outside the operational aspect of the application. And so while we're actually doing this work and trying to actually see how we can actually improve the Claris platform, we basically look at how the developers will actually handle how users actually sit within the environment of a Claris based application. So essentially you have three types of users or areas. The first one are the internal users. Like the last 30, 40 years of what's been great about FileMaker is you can actually create some really great apps for internal users, whether they're using desktops, whether they're using mobile, whether they're using browsers, and in the future when they use AI. Internal users basically have a great system that could actually be leveraged through the use of FileMaker purely. They can easily get into the internal data of the company, and that's not really an issue. Where we have a bit more of a problem is around external users. So we have WebDirect, we have data APIs, we have various ways to actually make it easier for people from the outside to be able to connect. But one of the biggest problems is in terms of creating a system that can handle a lot of users out there. For those who've been trying to actually get more than 500 users on WebDirect, it's been very hard. Either it's very expensive in terms of the hardware, or maybe sometimes in terms of licensing, or sometimes in terms of actually creating the environment. It requires quite a bit of effort for people to actually be able to actually do that. And the last one is about the data sources. We know that a lot of people basically nowadays need to be able to actually access data quickly from other API services. You can use Instant Mail quite quickly inside of FileMaker, but in a lot of cases, just the learning part of it, writing the scripts to be able to actually leverage what's inside the FileMaker sometimes take a bit of time. And so by leveraging other tools around it, it's going to make your life a lot easier. And so when we actually put everything together, we basically come up with a Claris platform. So essentially the Claris FileMaker, stuff that you've been using for a very long time, you know how it works. We bring new features regularly. We make a lot of work on the performance enhancements of the solution of the system, so we actually sort of really nicely. And what we're pivoting towards is where we had a confusion before is there was like a FileMaker on the one end, there was Claris platform. Confusing the idea is now everything is going to work nicely together. So FileMaker is going to work nicely with Connect, which is essentially the way you're going to be able to actually automate your workflow with APIs on the outside. And then Studio, which is going to allow you to be able to do better web apps for external audiences. So I'm going to go through some of the work that we've done since, I would say, May time around FileMaker Connect and Studio. Then I'll go into some of the work we've done for the future and where we are going towards, especially some stuff we release when we have Claris Engage 2024 next February in the US. So on the FileMaker side, we launched FileMaker 2023, which is product version 20. Essentially, the way we actually try to actually do the work with the engineering team is we want them to work on making sure the performance, stability, and of the infrastructure that people have could be improved every time we have an update. And when people do an update of the system, moving from one version to the next one, they'll see direct improvement to the solution. So we've done some work on WebDirect to be able to actually have more users, but even on simple systems being built, the stability of WebDirect is being improved. We've done a lot of work on the list view, which is kind of broken for a long time. So we've been working really hard to be able to actually just give you, every time you do an update, straight out of the box performance to the system. But we've been able to actually as well give you new features to make your life as a developer a lot easier. So we've got the scripted transactions, the audit logging system that we built in. So a lot of stuff that we've actually built to make your life easier. There's work that has to be done by the developer to be able to actually generate and use those new features, but at least it makes your life a lot easier. And then we've done a lot of improvement on the server side so that there's more automation that can be triggered directly on the server so that it's being used just a bit more than just hosting the file and do the backup. It can run a lot more scripts than it can do in the past. We had a short 2 weeks ago, well, just basically on the last day of Engage, we released 20.3, where we've been working essentially on getting the full support of FileMaker with Sonoma. We know we still have issues. Some of them are bugs that we have internally, which are really hard to fix because they are based on third-party tools that we use internally that it's really hard for us to update. So we know that there's some issues sometimes where you have like flickering issues on the screen. And then we have issues that we're still aware of, which are due to the macOS as having issues, and we're waiting for Apple to release some macOS updates very shortly, which should actually fix a lot of those issues in terms of the visual effects. And the other aspect of it is we've been bringing new tools as well, new features to developers so that it makes their life a lot easier. So one of the features we brought in for 20.3 was around HTTPS tunneling. So essentially, this is coming from customers globally that have requests on how we actually leverage our communication between the FileMaker developer and IT. Essentially, FileMaker, when you're using FileMaker server and clients, everything goes through port 5003, which is ideal. And 3 years ago, you could say, this is brilliant. We have a port assigned to the company. It means that FileMaker is a great company. Nowadays, IT has actually moved on, and they want to basically not have to manage all the port being opened by different apps. They want everything to go through secure web ports. So they want everything, as much as they can, traffic to go port 443. And so we've been doing some work. We had people asking for proxy server and stuff like that. So what we did is we created a new option inside of FileMaker server for the time being Linux only, version 22, to be able actually to do HTTPS tunneling. So there's an option you set up in FileMaker server, and instead of actually using port 5003 between FileMaker server and FileMaker Pro, it's going to be using port 443. There's an option as well that has to be turned on the Mac as well. It's not ideal. This is I would say version 1. We want to basically get feedback from developers, users to see how it's going to evolve, but we're hoping that basically we're on the right track. So currently it's only working on Ubuntu. It's kind of manual process. We are looking to actually put the same feature on the Mac and Windows and to have some automation side so that the FileMaker server has no control over how the Pro can actually get to it. In 20.2, we released a feature that basically was in the code for a long time, but we actually never released, around layout calculation. And we've improved it between 20.2 and 20.3, essentially again through customer feedback and from ETS and for partner discussions. It's a nice feature, but it's not something that is going to be able to change your solution as soon as you install it. There's going to be work that has to be done in order for you to use this new tool. So essentially, it's going to reduce a lot of the work that you had to do in terms of creating layout-based calculation inside your tables. Most of that can actually be done now directly inside the layout. And then on top of that, we've been working really hardly to actually get better integration between FileMaker and Connect. How do I actually use my flows of Connect really quickly inside the FileMaker? So we created a new script step called Trigger Claris Connect Flows. And directly from the script steps, you'll be able to actually pick all the various flows that you have enabled in your Connect account. And that way you can directly call them really quickly. On top of that, what we've done as well is to be able to actually integrate Claris Studio tables directly inside of FileMaker. So before that, you had to actually go through Claris Pro or Claris Server. All of that is going away. Now everything can be done directly through FileMaker Pro. And I'll do some demos afterwards just to show you what we've worked on. Future what we're working on is around performance, stability, and reliability, so PSR. We want to make sure that whatever you're using gets better every time there's a new feature. Where the head is, a lot of the work is done around AI. I'll talk a bit more afterwards. And then the last one is really about this platform integration. Get FileMaker and Connect and Studio to work really tightly together so you can actually do more things with it. On the Connect side, what we've been working and we released recently was the free signups. Now anyone can actually sign up to Claris Connect. You get a 500 API request monthly allowance. This is a free contract that basically will keep on going for a very long time, well, till 2099, and you can use it as much as you want. As soon as you've actually created your flows and you start using a bit more APIs, that's where you can actually buy the license that actually go with it, depending on your needs. So it's moving away from how we used to do trials inside of Claris, whereby you had to have a 45-day trial and then you had to actually buy it. Now the idea is we give you a software free of charge to be able to actually start testing in. Once you've built the solutions, once you've built the flows, whatever you need to actually do out of that, then we talk about pricing, and then we talk about paying for the licenses. So it gives you more freedom to be able to actually create whatever you need long term. We've added some new connectors this summer. There was around OpenAI, and then we've done some updates on the UX so that it looks closer to what we have on the Studio side. Recently, so we released custom connectors, and the idea is instead of us, Claris, creating all the connectors to all the APIs on the planet, we give you basically access to our JSON editor inside of Connect, so you can create your own connectors to pretty much any system out there. On top of that is some of the connectors that we have are limited because of the contract that we have with the third party. We manage what we can with them, and so sometimes there are specific features of an API that is not available from the connector that we supply. That way you can create your own and be able to actually do whatever you want with it. So stuff like Eventbrite, we have access to specific features of the product that don't really sort of change a lot. If you need to actually have access to everything, you'll just need to create your custom connectors. And then we added custom connectors for Clarify, Jara, Azure AD, which is now called Enter or something like that. And then we create a nice one for the Japanese market called iTrust, because in Japan now they request a cyber trust system for exchange of data. So we had to actually get that sorted quite nicely, and is really appreciated by the Japanese market. What we're working on next essentially is around authentication. We know we have issues on that, so we're creating specific improvements around OAuth and custom connectors to make developer life a lot easier. We're going to try to extend the amount of connectors that we have on our catalog. The idea is to be able to bring between 2 and 3 on a monthly basis of new connectors. Essentially, those connectors are based on customer feedback. So we request our partners saying, this is what I need, can you build it for me? And depending on what we can do with them, that third party will do the connectors. And again, is to make the UI, UX, all the environment between FileMaker Connect and Studio work a lot nicer, so that it's easier for developers to be able to actually call within Studio a connector, within FileMaker, whatever they need. So we're trying to actually get everything to work with the same look and feel. Last one is around Claris Studio. So again, Studio is moving very quickly. We at the beginning we had like updates every 2 weeks. It's been a bit slower now because sometimes we do a lot of work in the background. There was a lot of work that we had to do for moving the I would say the backend database from GCP. So at the beginning we used Google Cloud Platform. We moved everything back into Amazon AWS services. So that took a lot of work for the engineering to actually move that across. But essentially is we keep on basically doing improvements. The cycle of release is a bit sort of longer now, but there's a lot of work being done in the background. We've been working on the infrastructure as well. So we recently had a Japanese data center that is kind of in production. So we're testing around it. And then we're going to open one in Europe. The first one will be in Frankfurt. And then we'll see quickly with the demand and the usage, whether we need to actually open one in the UK or around other places in Europe. And so essentially, again, where the head for Studio is to really be able to actually be able to work really nicely with FileMaker. We know that moving away from FileMaker completely to some other system is really hard. And we want to leverage this vision of external users inside of FileMaker apps. And so we're trying to actually get all of that working nicely so that integration of Studio data or FileMaker data inside of Studio gets to work really nicely. And on top of that, we are trying to actually get use cases for you so that you can figure out what you can do with Studio. And we are creating inside of Studio kind of generic set of views so that it's easier for you to start using the full power of Studio with your FileMaker app without having to create a lot of stuff around. The scale of customer access essentially is going to try to actually ramp up the amount of people that actually have it. The idea is that anyone that has a valid annual FileMaker contract will be able to actually start using Studio early next year to start coming up with ideas on what they can do with it. So a quick sort of demo for Studio for people that have actually never seen it, because we already assume people look at it, but we already sometimes know that we have people that have never seen it. So essentially, those are sort of small media. The immense enhancements that we've done is around the panel, so that we're trying to actually get a lot of how you do things in Studio compared to how you do stuff in FileMaker. So we've recreated some of the spectre on the side to make it easier for people to kind of be able to not relearn something completely from scratch, but basically use some of the work they've done inside of FileMaker when they do stuff in Studio. So creating a form inside of Studio is really straightforward. It's pretty much drag and drop, where you've got your label and stuff like that, kind of straightforward. One of the nice things we've actually done recently is to be able to really integrate your Claris web form inside of FileMaker. So this is an example of I created a form inside of Studio to be able to actually get information from speakers. Once information is actually filled in, all of that actually goes straight away in Studio, but I can actually access it from a FileMaker solution. So if I had a FileMaker solution that was talking to some other web form type of tools, now I can actually just put everything inside of FileMaker, inside of Studio, and get all the information back inside of FileMaker. In order to actually sort of do that, what we've actually done is simply allow shadow tables of Studio to appear inside of FileMaker. So all the work that we had done in Claris had to actually Claris Flow move to FileMaker. So there was a lot of work that had to be done instead of how Claris is going to Claris ID and the token system is going to be managed inside of FileMaker with other type of users. So that took basically about 6 months of work for the engineers to actually get there, but now we actually have it. So you'll be able to use ESS Plus inside the FileMaker to get all your Studio tables or shadow tables to appear directly in your relation graph. So kind of straightforward, but makes it really nice to be able to actually get that working. And we've been working on getting new views, stuff that people have been asking for. And so we have a lot of new options that are actually coming across. There's going to be a lot more coming out next year. And in a lot of cases, it's the type of views that people have been trying to actually do inside the FileMaker for the web that actually either take a long time to do or kind of complex. We just use JavaScript libraries to actually do all that work for us so that you can create nice Kanban views and stuff like that for all information. There was some really great sort of session at Engage around sort of Studio, so I'm really glad people actually catching up on that. So the next stuff basically is to talk about kind of the future, and like everyone's sort of talking about the future is around AI and how we're going to be able to actually leverage AI essentially at first in your FileMaker solution. So even though there's a bit of work that we use, or there's a bit of AI that we actually already use inside of the Claris environment. So our Claris ID is managed by a tool by AWS that has a big AI engine to make sure that your account can't be hacked or people from across the planet try not to actually get inside it. So we already use a bit of AI, and every day nowadays, people in our daily sort of, whether it's work life or normal life, AI is around. What we're trying to actually do is how do we actually make it easier for people to use essentially LLMs inside of your FileMaker solution. So not really looking at too much about Connect and Studio, but basically within your FileMaker solutions. You can already do it in FileMaker. You have to basically, it's a bit of work because you'll be using insights from URL, and we'll be doing a lot of exchange of data. So you have to actually learn how that works. What we're trying to do is bring a couple of script steps inside the FileMaker to make your life a lot easier. Essentially, first stuff to do is around LLMs, so large language models. How do we actually send data to an LLM so that it can actually give us information back and help us improve the information that we have inside the FileMaker? So the idea is to open up this idea that you have built great system for your developers, for your users, whether the external or internal users. In a lot of cases is you want to be able to actually do a bit more. You want to be able to actually do better queries inside your system to be able to pick out issues with your data, or to be able to actually do quickly graphs with data that normally used to take quite a bit of time. By using LLMs, you're going to be able to actually sort of leverage that power and do things quicker than you would do in the past. So the approach basically is integrate LLMs inside FileMaker script. So you know how to do a FileMaker script, you know how it's going to work. All we have to do is create the script that are going to be able to actually talk to the LLMs out there. They can be both public or private. So one of the things, the first thing we actually did in our system is to enable people to be able to use the normal one from OpenAI, so ChatGPT, or any of the private ones where you could set up your own LLMs on your machines if you want to basically do it inside your company, or you can do it within AWS or any providers that have powerful hardware that can actually run LLMs properly. So we basically are going for a on-premise cloud, whatever you want. We give you the option. You have the flexibility to use the right model that actually works for you. At first, we'll do, and we'll talk more when we go to Engage. There'll be session on how you can actually leverage that, what you can do with it, so that people understand how the whole system kind of works. So essentially, what you have to be able to actually do a request or query to an LLM is you have to set up an account. You have to set up basically the model you want to talk to, so the type of model that LLM is going to be using. You're going to set it a prompt, which is essentially a query. You're going to give it basically access to the tables inside your file, and you say, this is the information that I want you to actually process, like the LLMs, and it's going to give you the information back. We have created 6 script steps, which are basically around debugging, connecting to the account, doing a prompt. We have like semantic searching. I'm not going to go through the details of LLMs and how you actually talk to it. We'll do that at Claris Engage. But basically, we're creating all the tools to make it easier for you to be able to actually sort of play with it. So it's actually kind of straightforward. You know how to use FileMaker scripts. You'll just have to actually go through the option, and it's not really that complex to actually go through. The idea is normally you're sending the information of this is what I want you to do with it, and the information will be given back to you by GitHub based on the information that you actually sort of do them. One of the things that we've been working on is how do we within Claris start kind of using what we've built so that we can have a better idea of how we can explain that back to you. So what we did is we kind of played with it. So we were at first playing with the charts. How do we actually sort of get dynamic chart inside of FileMaker? So the idea was to be able to say is, I want to be able to actually create a quick sentence and ask the, in that case, ChatGPT to send information back to my system so that I can create the chart. So the example essentially is we've created all the various sort of charts that you can do in FileMaker. So it's about 8 different sort of charts. We have an engine, we're using the Slack panel. What we do is we're sending is, this is the request that I'm actually sending to ChatGPT, and then I'm telling it how I want the information to be sent back to me. So with the information in that example is saying is, can you give me basically the result of the queries that I'm building? And then you decide, the AI, which is the best type of chart to display that information. So in some cases, when it's basically asking you to actually have task by status, if there's only 2 status, the AI is going to know that the best way to display that is through a pie chart. It's not going to give you a bar chart when there's only 2 values. It's going to basically give you, so you just get the natural language environment to decide for that. And then we have a couple of scripts and the information gets sent back to you. It's kind of straightforward. We can use the quick find as well, because we're going to basically interact with the quick find. So the idea is to just make it everything kind of straightforward for people to start using it once the developer is actually built it. The use case that we showed at Engage, and then we talked about, so EngageU and then Claris Engage Japan, is around how we could start using it for us internally within Claris. So a clear example basically is around team task. At Claris, we spend a lot of time, maybe too much, in WebEx meetings. The team is spread across the world. We have different sort of teams, different time zone. We spend a huge amount of time basically going through our Kanban boards, backlog, grooming, all that information, stuff like that. And so we've been creating sort of tools for us in terms of, in some cases, we need to be able to create a backlog for one event. So when we're actually working on creating this, the information for Claris Engage Japan and EngageU, we kind of played around with some of the tools that we had inside the studio and FileMaker to be able to actually come up with, how could we actually use that? And so what we come up with, the fact was, the idea is we have meetings. We record everything, whether essentially on WebEx, and every time a meeting's been recorded, we have a transcript of that meetings, and we want to do stuff around it. For those of you who actually spend time, a lot of time on a daily basis around doing your meetings, is you talk during your meetings, and afterwards you have to remember the notes and create the events afterwards, which basically takes a huge amount of time. So the idea is to be able to actually go is, sometimes we want to actually move away from that. So in the case that we're showing here is, we want to actually start creating this idea of how do we actually get action items to be created directly based on the work that we're doing. So whether we actually sort of just put a note inside the field when we have a meeting to create information and use Connect and some environments to create those action items, or is there a way for us to be able to completely streamline the principle behind it and be able to go, I have a meeting, there's a recording of it, there's a transcript being written directly from, whether it's WebEx, AI, or Zoom, whatever. Once I've got the information, I can run it through a Connect that's going to grab the information, send it to my FileMaker solution, and then use the LLM script steps to send information to whatever you want it to be, so that it can create action items for me. So instead of actually having me to take down notes when I'm actually having meetings, I can basically just go through my meetings, and afterwards, the environment that I've created is going to create all the stuff for me. So the example is, we have a Zoom meeting, a WebEx meeting. Once the transcript is being generated, it's going to send us a Slack message saying, hey guys, by the way, the event is going through. Then it's going to send information inside FileMaker And FileMaker is going to run those scripts to be able to create action items for me. So first example that we do is we get the information back from any type of a WebEx or Zoom environment. There is a VTT file being created, so it's transcript. Because it's doing it on the fly, and whether it's Zoom or whatever, they're trying to do really quickly. Sometimes they don't really get some of the words properly. Maybe it's the accent, so you have a French guy speaking, and the AI isn't that clever, or you have words where pronounced really quickly, the AI doesn't get it. One of the examples that we have in that one is around Endicate. So Endicate is the PMM for Claris. Whenever we pronounce his name, whether it's Robert, Ronnie, or myself, or Wes, whatever, different accent, the AI kind of picks out not Andrew, but Android. And so it's really hard to actually use that when you want to create event for you, because there's no one called Android inside of Claris. So what we do is basically once we have that transcript from Zoom, we then send it to another AI. So we have access to ChatGPT version 4 that has a better environment. We can actually send it basically that information, and it's going to clean out for you. And because it has a better learning language, it's going to understand that there's an Andrew in that meeting. So when the word Android is being pronounced, it's actually Andrew. And so now we can actually fix it. And then what we're going to do afterwards is we are going to send that clean information out to the LLMs, and we're going to tell it what we want it to do. So we're going to say, is this information I'm sending you, I want you to send me back information in a JSON format where you're going to pick out action items, and you're going to tell me who's the assignee, who's the person who created the event, and information about it, and whatever. And so this is the stuff that it's doing. So afterwards, we get information back in JSON format, so we can use all the knowledge that we have FileMaker to create the actions, the records inside FileMaker tables. Essentially, we're getting back an action, description, an assignee, and a sign blind, and it does that through the whole system. The way we work is to make it better. We basically send a chunk of data one at a time, and the AI kind of loads sometimes big information, so that the quality of the information gets to be better and better every time it's sending the information back. Once we have all this information, what we do is we create record inside a studio table inside the FileMaker. So we don't really need to actually have the information inside a FileMaker. We actually need to actually have the information in Studio so that it can populate a Kanban board. And it just makes life a lot easier in that front. And so this is what it's doing. Once basically all the transcript has been viewed, it's going to extract everything, and then we're going to send everything into our Studio table so that when we go into Studio, we can see all the events in a nice Kanban board. So we could have created a Kanban board inside the FileMaker, but it's a lot easier to be able to actually use it inside Studio, because that way, if we have people from the outside of our small groups that have tasks assigned to them, they use the general sort of software internally. And so that way, it's a lot easier for them to go. So you could go to Studio, could have gone to Jira. For the example, we want to use Studio, but at least it just makes it easier. And so we're moving away from actually having just your operation apps. This is going to the management apps. You can have your directors of engineering be able to actually access it and view if there are tasks for him. Same for Brad, he could actually get access to that and see if there's anything assigned to him. And so we're leveraging the power of FileMaker with the script steps to actually get quick data through an LLM. We're using Connect to actually do some of the back and forth work, and then Studio to actually show us all the great stuff they can do in a web environment. And it's something that we are currently working on so that we could actually leverage that internally. Because we've seen that it's taking a huge toll on our work inside of Claris to create new tasks, to go through all the stuff. If we can leverage that vision, it's going to make our life a lot easier. And because of Studio now, you can have that nice dashboard. We should actually be able to actually produce more features for our partners and our developers and fix more bugs quickly, because a lot of that work will be done for us. And so this is the version basically of Together. It's to bring sort of those incredible things that used to take a long time to do. We just want to make your life a lot easier. It's really about that. It's not us sort of trying to become a AI provider. It's just we create those small sort of features inside the FileMaker that's going to make it even easier for you to actually start using it and be able to actually sort of go do great stuff around. So that was me in half an hour. So it's a bit going quickly, but I just want to give you some of the information. And then when we have Claris Engage in February, we'll have a lot more stuff around AI and new features that we have for the next version of FileMaker.
Thank you, Doug. That's great. That was a quick run through. Good to have that. We had a lot of that at EngageU, guys, here. Thank you. I hope everyone found it useful, online and offline.
When's that? What's the timing on that? When can we get our hands on those script steps?
Can you hear that, Doug?
Yeah. So we currently have a small ETS of essentially people that we know already done work on LLM, so that we don't actually have to explain how the backend actually kind of works. And we'll hoping that by for Claris Engage, there'll be a ETS with the AI stuff in there. So February next year.
Really? Excellent.
So 8 weeks or 4 sprints away, basically.
Has anyone got any more direct questions for Doug at this point? Well, feel free. I'll leave the meeting open when we finish, so feel free to carry on afterwards. And I think it's time to segue into talking about EngageU, of which Doug was a major feature. Basically, a few of us went. Some of us presented. Some of us just went for the fun of it. Some of us just went for the beers, I think. But really, I wanted to just give everyone an opportunity to say what they enjoyed about it, maybe what they didn't enjoy. Are you there, Johan and Joris? I think you are. I can't really see. It's all been a bit chaotic. To give you some feedback as well. But generally, I think the general feeling was there was some incredibly useful talks there, and a great time was had by all. Does that sum it up, Mark?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So feel free, unmute yourselves, join in, tell us about your highlights, maybe tell us about some of the talks that you went to. If you saw the program and didn't go, feel free to ask about those talks. And we'll take it from there. Anyone got anything to say? I can see lots of people in there. From a strange angle. Yeah, first of all, apologies for the rather chaotic nature. Gary at the last minute, for some personal reasons, is not able to join us tonight. And for some bizarre reason, the Wi-Fi in here isn't working tonight, so we're running off my phone. But the meeting's actually being run from Forbidden Planet's offices, so we should be good. And I hope no one's had any problems with that. Would someone like to pitch in?
Yeah, I can start. I'm really happy that we get a few people from UK attending. And now that I can see that we are 24 people in this meeting and not all were present, I hope that you all will be present next year.
Yeah, there's 10 more here, but 8 more in here.
Perfect. No, from my side, I take my side. We really appreciated everything that Claris did on the conference for us. And then I really enjoyed meeting up with all the people from like everywhere in Europe. We also got people from Australia, US and Canada as well. So there were a whole bunch of really experienced developer, not only having sessions, but also paying attention and talking to everyone else there. And I think that's the most important part about being at the conference, to be able to socialize with other people.
And you provided a very good grounds for us to socialize, that's to say.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd add to that it kind of reminded me of the meetings that we used to have in the UK that FileMaker put on, where it was a chance to actually talk to your fellow developers, find out what they were doing, ask some questions, and just interact with people that I think we've really missed over recent years. So it was a really good opportunity to be face-to-face with a room full of fellow developers. So yeah, it really reminded me of the what we used to have in the UK, and unfortunately don't seem to get so much of anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Quite happy. I'm second that. That's is really good. And we've got, it's a bit like this, but much bigger, much more fun things to do. It's much better talks.
Significantly more continental.
Significantly more continental.
And then more peanuts.
There's more beer.
I don't remember many peanuts. There's more.
What I found quite useful as well was having Claris being involved. Very, you know, a lot of the big hitters from Claris came and we could talk to them directly. And Doug was there, and Ree was there, Clay was there. So there were loads of people that you had very good conversations with from Claris. It wasn't just sort of a, you know, an outside of Claris thing. They were very much involved in the planning, sponsored it. So it's good to have that direct interaction with them.
Yep. Were there any talks that anyone found particularly useful? I mean, I had a lot of trouble deciding what to go to, but thankfully,
Are you fishing now, Julie?
no, I'm not actually fishing.
Your talk was very good. I genuinely
wasn't
enjoyed
I really wasn't. I wasn't fishing for that.
it.
But I love it. Yes, more.
What was your talk about, Will?
It was about them, those two over there. I took their names in vain. No, it was about scanning in a warehouse situation. We're going to have a special next month on scanning. So anyone who's got anything to say or learn about scanning, please come to next month's FMBug, which I think is the 8th of January.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. I wasn't fishing for that. I had a lot of trouble working out what to go and see, but thankfully there's going to be recordings of, I think you've recorded everything, haven't you, Joris and Johan? Yeah.
Yes,
so,
recordings will be available, I hope by the end of this week or next week. They're still editing the videos.
it's a long task, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be releasing all the videos for everyone who attended the conference, and then we will be sending out the other videos to everyone else on our YouTube channel, once every week or so that everyone else can have a chance to look at the presentations as well. So if you haven't yet found our YouTube channel, please find it out on YouTube, EngageU. And then you can see all the presentations that took part last year, and then there will be more coming up here in the upcoming weeks.
Is the excuse me, is the agenda still available for people who weren't there?
Yes, so the full webpage is still around, so you can just go to engageu.eu and have a look at the agenda, see everyone who attended, and then there is some material there as well. So there's a lot of things to see and watch, and see what you missed if you wasn't there.
Yeah, definitely. But not all of what you missed, I hope. I hope you didn't record all of it, did you? Not the secret parts. No, it was good. It was really good to meet so many developers. I think that was great. I made some great new friends and contacts, so that was good. There wasn't a single talk I went to that I didn't like, which I thought was an achievement. Same for you, Mark?
Yeah, I think it was really well curated, and it was a really quite a broad mix of talks. So you got some sort of, because obviously you've got to balance that blend of sort of experienced developers with sort of less experienced developers. And I thought it struck that balance quite well. So there was something for sort of every skill set.
And there were talks on business and how to handle customers and things. So yeah, a very broad range.
It was nice as well to get a couple of the new generation of developers. There's a couple from this series. There's not that many, but there was a couple of new ones. I think one of the slides that Johan you showed at the beginning was the amount of women actually attended.
Yeah,
which is always kind of cool because it's a manly word, the FileMaker word. Really, it was actually quite nice to actually have a good presentation of young person and ladies.
We teamed up with women innovating together, and so there were a few of their board also present on the event, and they actively worked to get more women on board, also more women speakers. So we had 23 women attending, and I think that's a good thing. I believe it was about 12% of the total number of attendees.
It was amazing conference, especially this ballroom for the evening event.
Oh, yes.
In the zoo. That was a very nice room.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the beautiful Art Nouveau halls we have here in Antwerp. For those who weren't there, I have some pictures here. If you want, I can share my screen or post a link to the pictures. But
and I think you planned with less people because the conference area was quite full.
Well, we prepared for 250, but I also admit that if we were 200 or 201, if you count Kate's lovely little daughter. But yeah, we were prepared for 250, so the auditorium could fit 250 people. But I agree with you that the central area would probably be very crowded if we were 250. So we were 200. Can you see my screen now? So these are the pictures of the evening dinner in the marble hall close to the zoo. And so we had a photographer on site, so there was an opportunity to do some photo shoots. We have some very nice pictures. This is a very special one from Marino Mount, but particularly like that one. So yeah, I believe we had a cool evening dinner. Post a link in the chat to the photos.
Yeah, one of the things you guys asked about in the survey was about the potential location for next year.
Yes.
And I mean, it was a great location, as well as Malmo last year. And I think that one of the really, really nice things was having a location that you guys all knew so well. So you're able to make all these wonderful recommendations for restaurants and bars to go to, which we're all able to enjoy. Just your knowledge of the city made it, and being able to provide advice about what to do and where to go, I think made it a better event. So maybe just bear that in mind when you're all trying to choose where to go next year, somewhere that you know well, or that one of the two firms has got offices.
Okay, thanks. We got a lot of suggestions for major European cities like London or Stockholm or Madrid, Barcelona, that kind of major cities. So quite a few people commented that they would rather prefer a major city with a major airport than a city like Antwerp, which is a 30-minute train ride from Brussels. So
back in. Sorry, a little malfunction here. The plug was not correctly, the power plug was not correctly in. So we've just been floundering around trying to get back to the meeting. So I hope you've been doing okay without us, but we're back here now.
Someone's waiting to go.
Okay, thank you.
What's your date for next year?
We haven't decided on anything yet. We're going through all the evaluations right now and trying to see what went good and what we could do better, and then trying to figure out. But it will be somewhere about the time where we had it this year. So you can probably set up somewhere in November, approximately. But I have a question for everyone here. When you go to a conference, what kind of expectations do you have when you go to a conference? What you kind of expect to learn and to meet and maybe bring back home? If we can get some kind of idea of every one of you, that would be really nice, because I mean, we all have our own perspective and experience, and so it's very unique for everyone, I would assume.
Well, I'll open if no one else is going to. I expect, and it was achieved, to meet people I haven't met before, to be able to talk about FileMaker and anything Claris, in fact, for areas that maybe my knowledge doesn't cover. So to broaden that horizon, to make new contacts, and most importantly, to have a great time. It's a it's a time away.
Yeah, I think to kind of echo what Jules said, the social side of it's really important, because so much of what we do is solo. You know, we work remotely now, a large majority of us. So getting everyone together to kind of share those ideas over a beer and to find out how people achieve similar results with different different experimental methodologies is really useful to see.
I would like to add that access to the Claris staff is important.
Yeah.
Because that's the once in the year time where you can talk with them by drinking a beer and sharing some ideas. And then the sessions, you always find a little piece you didn't know, some new technique. So sessions are great.
I think it's really useful to have some sort of area where there's seating or small tables or something like that, where, you know, you go to a session, you hear something, then you and a couple other people sit down and start banging on a keyboard and trying something out that you just heard. So having those kind of congregating spaces is really helpful.
Yeah, it was pretty full on between the meetings, I found. I mean, I had intentions to go and talk to more people in the coffee breaks, but then we had the evening, so that was good. You could talk to people then, but you certainly come away fizzing with ideas and excitement.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, and I feel like there's a hard balance between, you know, absorbing all the information and being there and being present. And I mean, I know we're tech, so we're thinking about the future always. And I feel like there's some way to incorporate AI into conferences to better help our brains, you know, take in all the information that we're not able to absorb so easily by just sitting there and listening. But that's kind of thinking towards the next future. So.
Yeah, good to see you, Kate, by the way. Kate is one of the people I met.
Yeah, I would say pretty much echoing all the things that have been commented already. What Christian said, you know, you always learn something new, meeting new people, having conversations with new people, striking not just, how would you say, like a possible business relationship, sometimes making even friendships with people, which is long lasting. I would say I was really taken away by Clay's availability and Douglas as well, talking to people. It was really encouraging to see Clay having a beer, talking to Hansa, some deep technical conversation, and then these two brand new people to the platform came up to Clay and introduced themselves, and Clay automatically switched off that technical conversation and welcome to the FileMaker platform, and you know, very how would you say, you know, very open and very friendly, and it was great to see the mix of old people, long timers. I don't know what kind of call old people, but long timers like myself, whatever. But also seeing new people, you know. I would say, you know, learning some of the new stuff that's coming is also very important. Hearing from Claris, hearing, you know, like what we're working on, and this sharing, you know, candid conversations to understand where they're at. And that's always an important aspect of being part of the community and staying abreast as to what's going on. I think the one thing I keep mentioning, and I will mention it again, a kind of a thing that I'm a little bit picky about and all this, but the screen itself, the presentation, you know, like you have to get that right. Sometimes the room is too well lit. It's too bright. You cannot see the screen. And sometimes think of it as almost like a performance. Dim the lights in the audience a little bit, light the screen really brightly, and then let the speaker roam around. I think those would be my comments if there were any negatives at all. But otherwise, I had a great conference. Thank you for organizing it.
Thank you. I agree that Claris, they went out of their way to be available during those 2 days. I think David and Marie, they have been in meeting literally from 8 in the morning till 6, 7 in the evening, almost non-stop, which was amazing. And indeed, Clay was very, very approachable, very available, was also there for the full 2 days of the event. And on such a smaller scale event, 200 people, there's a lot more opportunity, of course, to have direct one-on-one talks with Claris staff.
Following on from last year's beer tasting event, I would say that the brewery tour was also quite nice. Thanks very much to Nick Orr for sponsoring that. Actually, it was great to meet Nick because he's one of those people who I've been in touch with for years online, but I'd never actually met him in person until the conference. So that was quite cool.
I think he traveled 36 hours to get to the event. So
yeah, we ended up sharing a train with him back to Brussels. So just by chance we bumped into him on the platform. So that was all in all, it's just a wonderful event. Really loved it.
Yeah, definitely. It was really nice having you've got a spread of developers from around the world. From America, Australia, all the corners of the earth, really. So it was good.
By the way, I have a very cool Claris Studio dashboard with the evaluations of the event. So if you want, I can share it with you. So we used Claris Studio and the new rating field. So you could give star ratings. That's one of the new objects or features in Claris Studio. And it's so easy to create a dashboard then. So if I may, just showing it. Now this is the Claris Studio dashboard. So we had quite good comments on the quality of sessions. Almost everybody gave a 4 or a 5 to the sessions and the speakers. Video recording is rated as very, very important for the event. So that's the the panel discussion. Doug, that's really interesting for you and Clay as well. We had a panel discussion on performance with Honza, Wim de Korte, and Clay Michael, moderated by Matt Navarre, was very well rated as well. And then venue and location were really appreciated. So very high scores there. So 5 is the highest score. Food is always difficult on conferences. Last year in Malmö, this year again, mixed feelings about food, but overall still good evaluations. And the dinner was 70% rated it as an excellent event. So that makes me very, very happy and very proud, of course. This is the graph about video recordings. So it's very important that we do that. And then a lot of people, 84% says they're coming back next year. So that's good, I believe. So that gives us a solid base to do it again. And most people prefer a nice location over travel convenience or travel comfort. So that's also good to know. And that aligns a bit with what Ian said earlier. So this is, quickly made in Claris Studio, literally in 10-15 minutes or so.
Impressive. Joris, you haven't got any little short clips of videos or anything that you could share with us to give people who weren't there a little flavor, maybe?
About the session.
Yeah, I was just asking you off the cuff. I haven't asked you about this before, so it's kind of throwing it at you. If you have any clips that you've got sitting there handy, just to give people a little flavor of what it was like. Otherwise,
I have no video, but yeah, I have the photos page and I posted the link.
Yes, I'd recommend people to look at the photos page. That gives a good flavor. I've looked at that.
Yeah, but I have no videos of the event, and the session videos are not available yet. So I even have not one sample that I can show you. I got a few samples sent to check the audio quality and the recording quality, which was quite good, but they need to be assembled now, and so that's still in preparation.
Okay, that was a big ask. I didn't really expect an answer of yes.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Is the Texas event just even bigger then, or just more people? I mean, what's the difference?
What's the difference? Doug, what's going to be the difference with the Texas event?
The Claris Engage, so it's slightly bigger. I think we're expecting between 600 and 700 people. It's across 3 days. So the first one is a training day session, like we've normally done for the last 4 or 5 years. And then there's day 1 and day 2. We're using the Apple Center in Austin. So there's a massive Apple campus. We're using I think for the first on the keynote day, the bigger one, because it has a larger room. And I think on the second day we go to another place because it has smaller rooms, but we can have more people moving around between different sort of sessions. On the front of Claris, what we're doing is, I think, from what I've seen, we're doing about 6 or 7 different sessions on AI under the hood. I know it's the one Engage/DevCon where we had the most amount of speaker submissions. I think we had a lot. So it was really took quite a long time for the team that actually went through deciding who's going to speak, to actually pick out the I wouldn't say the winners, but those who were selected for Claris Engage. Because we have so much good content, there is a plan to actually get other speakers who weren't selected to record their sessions so that we can actually stream them online afterwards. So yeah, I can't remember how many sessions they're going to be, but basically across the 2 days, it's going to be quite nice. And there's going to be a very nice after party event as well. And it's in Texas in February, so it's going to be like 40 degrees. But Austin is a bit cooler than that, but
yeah. Joris and Johan, did you get a lot of submissions to the for speakers?
We did have a line of people that we had to say no to, so it was really hard to pick out who we wanted to be speakers, but that was also because we wanted to have as many women as possible, and at the same time a big variety of different kinds of sessions, so there will be something for everyone. So it's always a little bit of a struggle to set up the agenda and finding the right kind of speakers. But yeah, we did have a few that weren't allowed to speak and some that wanted to have more than one session.
Mm-hmm. I feel very lucky.
I'll just put the link to the Engage program in the chat if you're not following the website.
Okay, yes, I will. I'll put that up on the FMBug website as well. I'll put all the chat up on the FMBug website. So if anyone's got any other links they want to throw in there, please do.
Did I completely cut out?
You did, Kate. We lost you completely.
Okay, I will say it again. I was saying how much I appreciated having the option of an outdoor space at the conference. You know, although I didn't actually go out there, I wish I would have. I mean, we know the weather wasn't great, but I happen to be walking outside right now, and then I lost you all. But I feel like it's good to be able to go outside and get fresh air and do that. And I know the weather in Antwerp is not always like that, because the day after the conference, I was out there and the sun was out and it was a beautiful day. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, we had really very bad weather and lots of rain during the conference, but there was a garden next to the conference center. So if it wasn't raining that much, we could have just walked outside and enjoyed the garden more. But yeah, was not really possible.
Yeah, it did rain a lot. but it wasn't bad rain mostly. It was walkable in rain. Yeah, maybe.
There's such thing as bad weather.
That's true. That's a good point.
But both Vince and I have been to CQDF in Montreal when there's 40 centimeters of snow on the ground. So that's like properly bad weather.
Yeah, I don't have good clothing for that.
That's not bad weather for Montreal. That's just
No,
winter.
that was a light shower.
I have been in Montreal in March with 15 minus Celsius, and it was at least no rain.
And I live just outside of Austin. I'm like 30 miles. So I can tell you right now it is, and I have to tell you in Fahrenheit, but I think it's like 60 degrees Fahrenheit here. So February in Austin it could be pretty pleasant. At least should be nice blue skies. Hopefully. I'm no weather predictor, but you know.
It certainly looks nice.
It's going to be better than Belgium anyway, weather-wise.
That's true.
Oh, and the chocolate was absolutely awesome. We took advantage of the discount coupon, went to the shop. We bumped into Kate like the next day, and then took back a box for we had a party at a neighbor's house, and they all loved it. It was really, really inspired choice to get them to sponsor the event.
Yeah, that was just an idea. That was a chocolate shop just around the corner of the event hall. And it turned out that he was the official chocolatier of the Obama administration and the Bush administration.
Yes, this one.
Yeah, indeed. So the American ambassadors, when they handed over boxes of chocolate, that was Belgian chocolate made from around the corner of the event. So that was a little story we had, and we teamed up with him. Got some discount for it, vouchers and a chocolate tasting at coffee breaks. So glad you liked it.
Yeah, it was nice.
Expensive chocolate though, not really cheap, but it's good.
Does anyone have anything from any of the talks that they want to bring up now? Maybe some technical stuff, or vaguely untechnical, but well, technical business or whatever that they thought was particularly good that they didn't know about before, or anything like that?
I thought Wim is always very interesting because he's at the forefront of some of our technology. You know, the interesting thing about these conferences is you meet people who are in their own way. Like, you know, Joris is doing, and your own are doing things with AI, so is he, and Wim's doing things on servers. One of the things about the conference is you get to spend a bit of time with people who are at the pointing edge of where things are in a very narrow way. Wim, as you know, is great on server stuff, but I found he just brought an infographic about the changes in how we do authentication. So it's literally just moved from a very simple username and password up to it's going to end up being something you know, something you have, something that you can do this with. Oh, and then the AI will work out that you haven't responded in 15 seconds, which is what you normally do. So we're going to assume it's not you. He just bringing things like that to us, I think it just expands our thinking process. So I found Wim's session really, really good in a couple of places. Very, very stretching, but also very thought-provoking because, frankly, he knows what he's talking about.
Yes, I thought it was really interesting when he said it's not you that's going to authenticate, it's your phone that's going to authenticate.
Yeah, so your mobile phone knows how you just walked across the room and whether you've been sat inactive and whether you're in a location that you're normally in and all that kind of stuff. It's a tiny bit scary because you end up going, no, it's really, really me. But some system's going to go, no, it's not you. But it's all around the fact that some people just want to break in and steal all your stuff. So we have to try and make it as secure as possible.
Yeah, did you go to that talk, Well?
It is, yeah.
So, that's a great one. Yes, I always enjoy listening to Wim talk.
For those, Wim's going to be talking very shortly at the Los Angeles meeting, and I believe possibly at Dig FM. And his topic, which I think is like not a secret, is going to be multi-user FileMaker systems. Just from memory, it's like, hey, it's better to have more files than few files, as part one of his talk, and then the other is going to be, hey, it's better to offload from FileMaker things that are better done elsewhere. And thematically, it's getting away from monolithic architectures, and it's going to be structured. My understanding is both of those talks are going to be structured in a very interactive way and applicable to everybody. So I personally am looking forward to those, and they're happening in LA and San Francisco. So sign up for those meetups and get all the Wim you want. And bring your questions.
Oh.
I know. Go on.
No. I've never expected to hear that phrase. Get all the thing you want.
Or can you get enough? Is it even possible?
Yeah, no, I know Gary was, when Wim first mentioned that, I think Gary was a bit like light the blue touch paper, and Gary will have an opinion that's contrary to Wim's. So I hope he can make at least one of those.
Makes the horse race.
Yeah.
So we'll have one that's get all the Wim you want and one that's get all the Gary you want.
Yeah, maybe. Are there any other conferences coming up that we should know about? I mean, if I think I can't remember if there's a link to the Dig FM one directly on the FMBug website, but I'm happy to put one on there if someone wants to give it to me. I think there's a general list of links somewhere.
Well, I keep a list on my websites for the events which may interest me.
Okay. I should link to your links.
Yeah, and I keep looking what Claris posts, so I can keep also a list of these events. And you may have seen that I post to the FM Soup whenever Claris posts a new event.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
It's so easy to miss an event.
I posted the link to the meetup for Dig FM, which is called Bay Area FileMaker Developer User Group or whatever. But when we get all the material from Wim, we'll be posting it there, so you'll see it show up there.
Okay, well, I'll get that link onto the FMBug website as well. So
okay, thanks.
Join the meetup.
Yep. What time of the day is that meetup?
Starts social time starts at 5, meeting starts at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, which is brutal for European people. We're so sorry. It's really we're really accommodating Eric Matthews' schedule because he's working at SFU, or I think it's called. Unfortunately, we're thinking to try and move that time to accommodate, not to be so brutal on European speakers. But we had Hansa one time on there, and when I was living in Germany, I was also on there. It's like, it's an awful time. It's an awful time. Christian as well, too. You know that.
Well, I'm already asked to present on another meeting in the US for January, and it will be midnight for me. So,
yeah, yep.
And LA is they start like during the day, so there's opportunities whether you're Australian, European, American. There's a time for everybody. People can move too.
we've got 5 minutes left technically. Is something people want? Well, 7 minutes to be exact. Is there anything anyone wants to get in the last few moments that they feel was particularly great about the conference, or interesting, or not so great? I'm sure Joris and Johan can take it on the chin if there isn't. In fact, I'm sure they'd like to know about it, so that better next time.
I'll mention just a couple of things. I was presenting Inspector 8 that's coming, and my next booth neighbor was Charles from FM Better Forms. And if ever you get a chance to listen to Charles present, he's an awesome presenter. He's just a phenomenal. He just like John was saying, there's few people that really know their stuff. Charles is definitely one of them. He's a captivating speaker, and just fascinating topics that he covers. But I think one of them that I really enjoyed hearing him talk at another point in time also was how he has this lateral thinking, right? So like he dips into other domains and then he borrows that knowledge and brings it into our platform, if you wish, right? And it makes the community all that much better, just because everybody's struggling with the same goddamn things. It's no different in other languages, in C or Java or whatever. It's just, it's a different flavor, but they all struggle with the same, problems of optimizing code and reading code and all this stuff. So definitely fascinating topic. And that's definitely something I've learned over the last few years, to borrow from other places.
That's great. And Charles is he's very open, isn't he? He has an open invitation to anyone if they want to do some joint coding sessions with him. He's very open to that.
Yeah, his session was on data synchronization, and it was really, really good. Just bringing some really good, proper software engineering principles to it. It was well worth watching.
So Joris and Johan, can I ask you, did you have any personal highlights that you got out of that conference? I'm sure you were busy running around trying to keep
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Johan has already left. He had to go.
I can't see that.
But yes, as for myself, I tried to enjoy the event, of course, a little bit after all the organizing, and luckily not too much went wrong. But it was a bit much for me to focus on sessions or Wim de Korte session was definitely a highlight. I very much liked the panel discussion. And also, someone said it before, the interactions during the social events were also very good. So I think the social aspect of such a conference is of the same importance as the topics that are presented. But yeah, apart from that, I was very happy that everything went smoothly and that there were not too many complaints or too many errors made. Another highlight for me was, as I already said, the availability of Claris staff and how they really were present for the full 2 days and having meetings with everyone. That was really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That was great having access to them and be given a time slot to talk to them. I think they tried to talk to just about every developer there, didn't they? Who wanted to, which is good. Thank you very much for organizing that conference.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for being there and presenting. I know how much work it is to prepare a proper presentation, and I believe we had some quality sessions, as I demonstrated with the evaluation results we got. So you got very positive feedback on all your hard work, and so I really thank you all. There are a lot of presenters here in this meeting gathered together, so thank you very much.
Hey, was that you wanting to speak and say something, or was that you saying you've got to go?
No, I was just clapping. I was clapping and agreeing with what you said. It was a great conference, and yeah, just appreciative of all the people that put such hard work into putting that together. So in a previous life, I did event coordination, so I know it's not easy.
Yeah, that was great. I think at that point, we'll probably call a close to the meeting. I've only got this room for a certain amount of time, so we're going to have to move off, but I will leave the meeting running. I believe if I just leave it, it's fine. You guys can stay around and talk as much as you like with yourselves if anyone wants to hang on. Otherwise, thank you all very much for coming, for talking, for giving us a little flavour, and for the links that you've posted in the chat and things, and everyone's contribution. Mostly, thank you to Doug for talking and giving us more insight into Claris. And it's actually pretty good to have Claris very open about where they're going and what they're doing. And Doug is a true person for being open about where things are going. So it's always refreshing. And thank you to Joris and to Johan for all the organisation. And thanks everyone for coming and attending, and all the people who spoke. It was great.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.